Hello, what's going on, everybody? I'm Dom of X, comicrelations.com assistant editor. We're going to be talking about my top 10 anticipated October DC issues. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. All right, people. The first issue that we got, I'm going to talk about, is the DC All-In Special number 1, which feels like a cop-out because I'm pretty sure this is number 1 on most people's list, but I do have it at number 10. And this is going to be a dual issue written both by Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson. Joshua Williamson, who is going to be writing Superman and continuing to stay on Superman for however long DC allows him, and Scott Snyder on Absolute Batman, and illustrated by Danny Sampere, Wes Craig, and Dan Mora. Now, this is a 64-pager for $4.99, the cheapest that we've gotten a single issue to be for that price to page count ratio since DC Rebirth number 1, which I think is pretty awesome. But not only does this include your entry point to the All-In Initiative and the DC Universe, this also is a flip book. So you get a front and a back, you get the regular Earth Zero characters and them reclaiming relationships, and of course an introduction to the Absolute Universe in the wake of Absolute Power. So you get two stories in one, written by two separate writers, and the creators all in this. I mean, Daniel Sampere, Wes Craig, right? Like Kaya and Wonder Woman, Detective Comics, and Dan Mora. Do I even need to say he apparently wrote he drew a 2-page spread in this specific comic, which is pretty remarkable considering that he's gonna be drawing so many more and different characters. But not only will you get to see characters reclaiming relationships and getting to be friends again and everything else of the sort, but you also get a return of the Justice League, an invitation for everybody, and this is going to be setting up some threads that will surely be rocking in all of the books to come. Titans, Justice League Unlimited, and all the separate characters that are going to be spinning out of this. I can't wait for this, and I can't wait to see what's going to be going on here, specifically in this issue. I am going to be on vacation from October 2nd to the 12th, so getting a couple of videos out is gonna be a little bit difficult for me. I already have some pre-recorded, including this one, but I will try to do a review of DC All-In number 1 and also talk to you guys about what my thoughts are and where we can go going forward. Next up, we got Birds of Prey number 14, which is coming in at number 9 on my list. For all of the people out there, Kelly Thompson is killing it. I have been loving her work with Black Cloak, and this specific issue is no different. Same with all of the other 13 issues. Now, while I wasn't as big of a fan of the second arc as I was the first, I still had so much fun with all the characters included and the inclusion of Barbara Gordon. Barbara Gordon, Kelly Thompson's rendition of her anyways, I think is easily her strongest since we got introduced to all of this in 2011, and yes, that includes Gail Simone, that includes the Batgirl of Burnside writers, like, I think Hope was her last name, I'm blanking on it, but nonetheless, I believe this is one of DC's stronger titles. Big Barda, Cassandra Cain, Black Canary, Sin, it's all a fantastic cast. The dynamics are all awesome, and Sammy Basri is taking over for the interiors on this issue until we get a peek into whenever Leonardo Romero is going to finish his work up with the Spidey people. Call me in, man. I mean, this just looks absolutely fantastic. His cast is serving. This book is going to continue to serve, and I can't wait to see what Kelly Thompson has up in store for the all-female superhero team of DC. At number 8, we got Poison Ivy, issue number 26, and the reason why I not only have this here, but also is on my list, I'm really happy that Pamela is getting to continue her spotlight along with Harley. These two characters having titles is not only remarkable to see, but to see that we are now in year 3 of Poison Ivy being a book that I have been picking up for that amount of time. And also, this was supposed to be a 5-issue series, but to see it sparkle into a full fleshed on ongoing with stakes in not only Pamela's life, but also the DC universe and its own ecology in general, it's pretty remarkable to see that we are not only getting to continue the stories here. Fantastic, remarkable book. Honestly, one of the more I wouldn't call it underrated because it's definitely deserving of its praise, but this is, I believe, one of the better and stronger books of the line, and G. Willow Wilson continues to write stories that I am definitely interested in. Fantastic writer, and Takara too on art, with Ira Prianto supplying the colors. It's a tremendous book, guys. I think you guys should go pick it up and start reading from number 1 if you can. This has been a fantastic and excellent run. At number 7, we got Green Lantern issue number 16 by Jeremy Adams and Zermanico. And the reasons why I have this here along with the Civil Corps special is that we are not only getting to see what Hal Jordan is doing, but we get the threads of every single character from Oa and onwards in the intergalactic spaces of DC Comics all come together and ahead with this. Jeremy Adams, I talked about this with him in the interview. He told me that this is not only going to continue Hal's story, but he is planning to build threads with some other characters in the GL universe, including Kyle Rayner and Guard Gardner, which is pretty awesome and exciting to hear from him, and the fact that DC has plans for them in the future. So if you guys haven't yet, go ahead and pick this up. I definitely enjoyed the first couple of arcs or so of Jeremy Adams' Green Lantern and the awesomeness that is that book and the intergalactic space shenanigans that have to deal with Hal and the rest of the crew. At number 6, we got Titans with John Layman and Pete Woods. And the reason to why I'm hyped for this is, yes, I did get to talk to John Layman about this, but in the fact that we have so many comics nowadays that are being decompressed by the 6-issue storytelling, we're going to get something new here. Titans is going to not only go back to the roots of who they were in the 80s, this is going to be a new thing, inspired by all of the eras that we've had of every single iteration of this team. We're also going to be going back to the 1 to 3 issue sequential storytelling. This isn't going to be written for the trade. There's going to be a lot of chunks here for people who might just be picking up 1 or 2 issues, which is great to hear, considering that I think a lot of times we are waiting for the omnibus, we are waiting for the collected edition, but Layman is promising to bring the issues back to its roots, and that's something that's pretty awesome to hear. And the other thing too is that it's going to be more of a focus on the Titans who aren't Dick Grayson, because Dick Grayson has his own book, and I'm glad that he gets to have a spotlight here. But we're going to be seeing more Donna Troy, who's my favorite character on the Titans. We're going to be seeing more of Cyborg. We're going to be seeing more of Gar. We're going to be seeing more of Corey, Roy, and Rachel. It's going to be a pretty awesome run. I hope Layman gets a good long while on this, and stay tuned. He's going to be definitely back on this channel to talk about it. So there is more in store there for you all. At number 5, we got Action Comics 1071, and the reason do I have this at number 5 is twofold. Mark Waid and Mariko Tamaki are going to be writing it, but Mark Waid, which is already a perfect fit for Superman, which is number 1. And the second is that Mariko Tamaki is going to be writing Supergirl, and I hope that this spins out into a Supergirl ongoing title. It's not anything of the sort of creators who have done a one-shot and nothing comes about to it, and I hope that's not the case, because we did get a Supergirl special, but I felt like that wasn't enough. We have the other Kara getting her own book, which is awesome because I do love Power Girl, but Supergirl needs her love as well. She needs her own established core title in the DC Universe, and I hope that by next year we get a DC All-In Supergirl title, and it's not just a 6-issue series. I hope it's an ongoing for as long as it can run, because Kara deserves it, and I think all the people who are fans of her also deserve it. At number 4, we got Absolute Batman number 1. This isn't number 1 on my list for a couple of reasons, but the main reason why it snuck up here in the top 5 is because Nick Dragotta has a chance to not only be one of the defining artists of this decade, and possibly this decade, which is insane to say, because we have Jorge Jimenez, who's been on Batman for the last 6 years. This is the chance for him to go down as one of the greatest artists in history. This is a title that is going to take the roots of Batman and shift them a bit, which is going to change the core complexions of his character, but that's something I think I can trust Scott with. Scott back on Batman, I think, has been a long time coming, and considering that I didn't think that it would be possible for him to go back to DC in this capacity, I think that's a pretty phenomenal thing. And getting to see Scott and what his take is on the character And not only that, to be able to see what he has in store for this brand new universe at DC, I think is going to be a treat for everybody to see. And to hear that it's doing well in the sales department, hopefully it keeps up past issue 1, because those orders are hard to get once you're in your 20s and 30s and even 50s and 80s and however long this title lasts. I hope that this can be one of the defining Batman runs in this generation. While still iffy on this as a whole, just because I didn't feel like they were giving enough due leeway with all of their different Elseworlds titles and Black Label titles. I am very excited for what this book has to bring and what the Absolute Universe can bring as a whole. So kudos to Scott for getting this set up, and Nick Dragado on the book, please sign me up. At number 3, we got Nightwing number 119 by Dan Watters and Dexter Soy. As if Dexter Soy on a Bat Family book isn't enough for me to already be sold on a book, this specifically is something that I'm hyped for, because Dan Watters has done a phenomenal job displaying and characterizing the architecture and the build of the settings that his books are in. It's something that he did with the Arkham City book that he did a while back with Danny, and that's something that I definitely enjoyed from his work. And with all due respect and love to Tom Taylor, I can't wait to see what Dan Watters has on board for this book. I know that a lot of people have been raving over the gushing and the love that Dick Grayson has been getting for the last couple of issues, but to see him get back down to the gritty street level fighting, and also a creator who knows how to direct that specific fighting, along with the commentary and the apparent gentrification of Bloodhaven, this is going to be a rock solid series for months to come. I have been waiting for a Dick Grayson book like this. I think this is the title that he deserves, with the creators that he respectfully deserves, because he needs top-end guys to not only differentiate him from Batman, but the rest of the DC universe, and holding himself to a solo series that isn't specifically part of his team, or A-Team, or the Titans, whatever it might be. Bat Family, he needs a book like this, and I hope that it lasts for not only a long time, but that they rock solid on it. Dan Watters will also be back on this channel at some point in the future to talk about the first arc of Nightwing, and also the first part of Batman Dark Patterns with Hayden Sherman, so be sure to stay tuned in for that. Number 2, we got Batman and Robin by Philip Kennedy Johnson and Javi Fernandez. Philip Kennedy Johnson has always identified himself as a father. He's always identified himself as the person who has struck a sort of balance between, hey, like, we're gonna write a superhero comic, we're also gonna write a really deep father-son connection, and that's evidence in not only his personal life, but also his comics career, especially with Action Comics, featuring the relationship between John and Clark. And now he gets to write Damian and Bruce, the crime-fighting dynamic duo. And this is really going to be his turn to write a full-fleshed Batman series. It is going to be as if I'm never going to get another job at DC. This is going to be something that he is going to put all of his energy towards, and to have Javi Fernandez bring on the heat, specifically with my experience from him seeing his art on Nightwing and also Percy Wolverine. This is going to be a very, very awesome series that I just can't wait to delve into. The art looks phenomenal. This series is going to hopefully be just as phenomenal as well. And again, a creative team that I trust. And also, Johnson's Batman was very, very solid in his Action Comics prelude to the Warworld saga. And also, the writing of Johnson's Batman in the Warworld saga, or I should say the prelude to it, was incredibly solid, and I think he's going to bring that same type of voice to Bruce, as well as the connections between father and son, which I know he's definitely going to bring. It's going to be more of a detective book, which is also very, very nice to hear. And yeah, I can't stop gushing over how excited I am for this title. But it's not my number 1, because my number 1 belongs to Kelly Thompson and Hayden Sherman on Absolute Wonder Woman. If you want to talk about a flip of a certain character and something that I have been waiting for, it's not only just the premise of Absolute Wonder Woman that gets me excited, it's also her design. Hayden Sherman is quietly becoming one of DC's best artists, and I wish that they would get the respect, or bigger respect I should say, specifically not only for this, but also drawing Batman Dark Patterns at the same time and getting these books out at the same time. I mean, that person's a machine. I can't comprehend how incredible that is just to even hear or think of. But her sword, her design, her costume, her outfit, the mythology, the different twists and patterns that Kelly's going to be bringing to this specific iteration of Wonder Woman. I mean, sign me up. I don't care what anybody says. This is going to be number one on my list. And I am very much so hype for this specific issue and this specific line. I think it's going to be the strongest out of the three titles. We have yet to see, of course, because those issues actually haven't come out yet, but this is going to be number one on my list, and number one on my list for a good reason. And I think just for even a bonus, I'm going to put Batman and Robin Year 1 on there, and it's not a DC All-In title because it is not in the same time frame as all of those previous issues, because this is a Dick Grayson book. Come on, man. It's Mark Waid and Chris Samney. It's Chris Samney on interiors. This is the same creative team that gave me my personal favorite Daredevil run, or the majority of that run anyways, was done by Chris Samney. He is an amazing artist. He's an amazing illustrator. He's an amazing sequential storyteller. He's an amazing and dynamic illustrator. And the way that it seems from what Waid and Samney have been talking about specifically for the series, and also getting to understand the roots of the relationship between Dick Grayson and Batman. That's something that I have been waiting for years. And I hope that this is not only the best story that we get of the Year 1 of Dick Grayson being Robin, I hope that this is the definitive story of these two together. I hope that people come back to this, and I also hope that we get an absolute of it. I forget the deluxe pattern. We deserve to see Chris Samney in absolute form at DC. We do, and you know it. We all know it. If you guys haven't checked out comicreleases.com yet, this is the #1 resource and tool of information for all upcoming collected editions and release date updates. It also has all the details, your major retailers, and of course what it collects in every single one of these issues. And for just the low price of $2 a month, you can add these issues to your watch list. Again, just $2 a month, but if not, it is a free resource to check up on tabs nonetheless. And I can't wait for these issues, and I can't wait to check all of these out. But until then, I'll definitely be doing reviews of single issues to keep you all updated here on the channel. But that's going to be it for me. I'm Dom of X. Be sure to like and subscribe if you guys haven't yet, and click that notification bell so you know every single time that I post one of these updates. And if you also haven't yet, you be you, take care, and dominate the day wherever you are.